Warning, Five Nights at Frickbears Free is still a pretty new game, so this video will contain spoilers based on the animatronics present within the game and their mechanics. However, if you do not care about that, then be my guest to continue watching the video. If you do care, go play the game. Or don't, I'm not your mother. Five Nights at Frickbears Free is a game with many options for animatronics to go up against. Whether you choose high-maintenance animatronics, such as Withered Freddy, Springtrap, Plushtrap, Nightmare Baby, Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, am I making this point clear enough? To incredibly easy to deal with animatronics, such as Toy Freddy, Mangle, basically every single Fazbear's Fright animatronic, Dreadbear, Circus Baby, Ballora, Lolbit. I'm not continuing this bit, I swear to God, why is there so many of them? But there are many more options I'm not bothered enough to explain.
But what if I don't know which one I should go for despite playing this amazing game?
Oh my, you're right, random character I just thought of just for this little joke that has little to no relevance at all until I feel like it. You're right! What if you don't know who to choose? How convenient then, because this video's just for you. Today I'm ranking all 47 Frickbears free animatronics from S tier to F tier based on how worth it to get there on a run. But let's first explain how this is gonna go. 1. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and the puppet will all be at 10 AI if they're not being ranked. Same applies to Balloon Boy, except with being at 5 instead of 10. 2. Rankings will be determined for the pricing if the mechanic is difficult in order to help the animatronic, so if they cost more, then I'll help them to an extent, and based on the mechanics, so hard animatronics will naturally rank lower. And 3. This footage was recorded in the custom night mode, so take my future ratings with a grain of salt. And I think that's it. So let's get right into it with the right-hand man at Frickbears. Bonnie goes to the main hall and then to the left door, emitting a growl when he gets to the door as a cue to close the door. Bonnie is, of course, also given at the start of the game, so he's free, along with Chica, Foxy, Balloon Boy, and the puppet. With Bonnie being so simple, he'll go into a high B just next to Freddy, due to basically being an easier Freddy and being just like the lady in the group. Chica the chicken starts in the main stage before going to the main hall, and not to the kitchen, but to the right hall, and then to the right door where you shut it once she starts growling. She is literally the exact same as Bonnie, but for the other hall. So she's going into a high B just like Bonnie, but you know who's not getting a high B? Foxy the Pirate Fox Saint. Foxy starts in Pirate's Cove with 4 phases before attacking. Phase 1 being him standing in his cove deactivated, with phase 2 being very similar, however his eyes are open. What a big difference, ooh. In phase 3, Foxy starts to leave his stage, and phase 4, Foxy's almost left the room, and after that, Foxy sprints to your office very loudly. Just shut the door, with Foxy being able to be slowed beforehand while watching him on the cameras. But if the puppet's been death-coined, and you're not using the cameras for about an hour, Foxy will sprint to your office and continue to bang against the door until your power goes out, jump scaring you instantly. Because of this, frankly, very funny way to force the player on cameras, Foxy will go into a comfortable seat here. But now for an animatronic to actually give you money. Yippee! Golden Freddy's mechanic entirely consists of flipping cameras. If he appears in your office, just put the mask on for a second, and then he'll leave. You can double click the mask, and he just disappears. And due to that simple mechanic, and the fact that you get $4 for masking a single second for the piss yellow bear to fuck off. A tier for the bear, but certainly not for Endo02. You just don't use any flashlights when he's at the window. Sounds simple, right? Yeah, it kinda is. But the thing is with Endo is that depending on who you choose, makes that a nightmare. If you choose Springtrap, yeah, if Endo shows up, give Springtrap a chance to move again. If Withered Foxy shows up with Endo, better wait a minute, despite the fact that muscle memory might screw you over. If RWQ FSAFXC shows up, give him a chance to become less translucent and make getting rid of him take longer. If you choose Plushtrap and he shows up with Endo, first of all, why would you do that? Point is, there's a lot of combinations that can screw you over, but there are worse animatronics, so a high C should be fine for them. Now for one of the best options you can get literally anywhere, it's Toy Freddy, and you better be ready, since all he does is set a high score for you to beat before 6 AM. Yeah, that's actually it. It actually just kind of helps you since you get tokens for dealing with him, and I'm pretty sure you get either 13 or 15 bucks just for taking him in, which helps him even more, so our first S tier will be right here. Toy Bonnie goes through events quickly, where you can use audio lures in which he is more susceptible to, or use the mask when he arrives. Now, Toy Bonnie alone isn't bad, however, this blue bastard becomes a problem when more vent animatronics are added. The more there are, the more annoying he gets, as he delays you from using cameras, and that also gives a chance for another vent animatronic to show up, and make it take even longer! Of course, unless you use the VR mask. But you'll rarely ever die from him, thus B tier, since he's just an annoyance. Toy Chica, the bird everybody's horny for. I mean, come on, Toy Bonnie's right there. Toy Chica's cupcake will appear in the office, with a blinking sound. Just click it and you'll be fine. Otherwise, you get jump scared by an incel's worst fear, a woman. But generally, Toy Chica isn't that bad if your ears are peeled. And you get a good 15 bucks, so that puts this fandom's favorite Chica in B tier, as she can be very easy to deal with, but harder to spot if having very noisy audio cues or Shadow Freddy. The Mangle, one of my personal favorites. The Mangle chooses a random camera for herself to be on every time the camera is flipped. And if you stare at him on the cameras for too long, she jump scares you. Generally not too bad if you don't use the cameras too much. However, she has a short tolerance of how long you stare at him on the cameras, which really does depend on her AI. So B tier, since she isn't too hard to avoid, but she can get you if you aren't paying attention or just frequently go on his camera. But from a pretty okay character to one of the worst, you know him, the bear who stares, scares, and is a little worse for wear, Freddy Fazbear. Withered Freddy walks between your two doors. His speed entirely depends on the AI, but when he gets to a door, if it's not closed, you'll be jump scared by Withered Freddy. Withered Freddy is a pain to deal with, especially with a character which needs to be focused on the cameras, such as the puppet or Pop Goes. The only reason old Freddy here is in an F tier is because you get $22 from him. And that's a pretty good source of tokens, if you're able to manage them. So because of these two pros against his many cons, D tier. Withered Bonnie, the bilingual rabbit, appears randomly, and when he does, put the mask on. Basically, FNAF 2 without the most annoying mechanic in the entire series, but since it's the singular animatronic C tier, he can be annoying sometimes, but generally he's alright a good chunk of the time. Withered Chica, the other Chica in FNAF 2, she goes through the fence slowly, where you could either use the audio lures, which she's less susceptible to, or you can let her go to your office, where you have to wear your mask until she leaves. This is almost exactly the same as Toy Bonnie, so she goes into B tier just like the baby blue chump. Now, somebody with almost the opposite mechanic of a certain somebody. Withered Foxy, you shine your flashlight on him if he shows up at the window. Yeah, that's it. Of course, there are combinations like Endo, but he's pretty generous with how much time you actually get to deal with him. So A tier, since you'll never accidentally die from him. Balloon Boy, the child everybody hates for laughing and being a kleptomaniac. Balloon Boy goes through the vents. If he gets to your office, he'll take your flashlight, but there's a small chance it jump scaring you instead. If you're Fritz, this is guaranteed. Balloon Boy isn't too bad if characters like Withered Foxy or Springtrap aren't active, since you wouldn't need your flashlight, and if anything, helps the characters like Endo too. But since BB can be annoying if there's many animatronics, he gets to be in the B tier since he's not too bad, but can be annoying under certain circumstances. But now for BB's fellow disgusting creature. Who are you again? Oh yeah, JJ, almost exactly the same as BB, except instead of disabling your flashlight, she'll disable your doors, but cannot kill you. Obvious reasons, this is a bigger problem than BB. However, since she can't kill you, that does help her somewhat, but not too much. So she's going to be just below Balloon Boy in B tier. But now for the last free animatronic. The puppet resides on the entrance camera, where you need to crank her music box, just one click of a button, which is so much better than FNAF 2, but anyways. The puppet is a constant threat which you have to have in every single run, but isn't too bad when you get in a good gameplay loop, so C tier sounds about fair for her. Now for our third FNAF 2 secret character. But once a night, Shadow Freddy makes the office pitch black for around 30 seconds, where you need to use your flashlight in order to see, due to the fact that you get a large amount of money, of which being $17, and having to deal with the dark for roughly 30 seconds to an hour. B tier seems alright for him. RWQ FSAFXC will fade into the office. Just use your flashlight on him before he becomes fully opaque, otherwise you get jump scared. Generally you can leave him for a while, but the only thing is that he is pretty aggressive, but can be alright. So this speak and spell sound and hair gets C tier for now. Thank God I only wrote his name 3 times in the script, so I don't have to say it a bunch. The phantoms reside on many different cameras. If you look at them for too long, you get jump scared, which increases your temperature drastically. Basically, there are ghostly freaks of nature that act like Mangle. So C tier because they're annoying, but at least they don't kill you. Next up we have Springtrap starts backstage, where he'll go through the main stage, the main room, the left hall, and door if left alone. In order to defend from him, use your flashlight to cause him to retreat to the last camera he's been before he gets to the door. Otherwise, he will never leave. Springtrap without any sort of audio cues would be a pain to deal with if you have many threats to focus on. Otherwise, he won't get too far. But thankfully, the old man here does have an audio cue. And with the added $25, this hag gets C tier with the rest of these chumps. Now for his fun-sized doppelganger. After each camera flip, Plushtrap will appear at the window and go a certain direction. Wherever direction Plushtrap goes is the direction you're meant to flash the door. Otherwise, you will perish to the funny bunny. Now Plushtrap, in theory, is a more difficult mechanic to deal with. However, he's actually pretty enjoyable to the point I wish there was a specific special mode for Plushtrap where if you flash him, it forces your monitor back up and then back down so you can attack again. Which leads to the pint-sized remarkable plushie of a murderer's rotting fursuit into C tier, if not for the fact Plushtrap was so fun to deal with in my personal opinion. Thus B tier. Also, can I just use a second to appreciate British Plushtrap? I mean, it makes so much sense. Whenever you see Nightmare Fredbear's jaws close in, you turn the fan on until he leaves. Sounds pretty easy to deal with, right? Well, it's not. Because of course it isn't. You see, you can't actually see Fredbear's jaws if you have the mask on, or if you have your monitor up, which can lead to a game over. If you have to deal with animatronics on the cameras, and Fredbear just felt a tad bit too hungry to wait. So he's going into C tier from being easy enough to deal with on his own, but being a pain to deal with if dealing with other animatronics on the cameras. Whenever you change to a camera on the monitor, BB's deformed cousin has a chance to appear. And what you can do to get rid of him, I'm sure many people have wanted to do to Balloon Boy. You get to beat him up! Finally! We can attack the Chud! Now, Nightmare BB can be annoying to deal with, since you can disrupt the flow of a night when you go to wind the puppet, or deal with Springtrap. But the fact you can beat him up lets BB go into C tier alone. Whenever Side Night Marion appears, you must not look at him while he makes a loud audio-based distraction. Now, you can just go into the cameras to avoid dealing with Night Marion, which is so peak. The only issue of Night Marion is that he is loud, which could make you not hear a good chunk of audio cues such as Freddy's laugh or Foxy's running. So I feel a B tier is fair for our favorite licorice sock monkey, since he's pretty easy to deal with. He's just noisy. Lolbit jacks the prices in Mendo's shop. Yeah, that's it. For $22 as well. That's all she does. If you don't use items, this isn't even slightly an issue. S tier. Why does Lolbit give so much money? With Circus Baby, you just need to find every single one of her biddy babs before the end of the night. The way to know if you found all of them is through the use of the arcade camera. If Circus Baby is there, there's still more biddy babs to collect. Else you've gotten them all. Now usually I'd say these before the end of the night characters are easy to deal with. However, with Circus Baby, you have to find the time to check each camera for her biddy babs, which with enough threats can be an issue in itself. But of course, this isn't too bad since you usually have 6 minutes to do so. Thus, B tier is where she will go. Funtime Freddy will go to either door, which is indicated with a voice line, and on the camera he's on, if Bonbon is on his hand, then you close the door Funtime Freddy's at. However, if Bonbon is not on Funtime Freddy's hand, you must close the door Bonbon is at. Now, I think this is a very fun mechanic, since this is a decently challenging mechanic, and can be dealt with easily if you know what you're doing. And it tests memory, like how its mechanic was in Sister Location. So due to this, the double whammy is going into C tier. Funtime Foxy has a cutout posted in the main room, showing a time on it when that time arrives in order to survive. Otherwise, you will die to Funtime Foxy. Now this sounds simple, yes, but here's what they don't tell you about it. It resets each time Foxy attacks. So if it's, let's say, 3 AM and you shut the right door at 2:57 and wait until 3, you survived, obviously. But then you have to check the cam again to see when Funtime Foxy is going to attack yet again, which can be 4:50, 5 AM, or even past 6 AM, which of course is a very annoying mechanic to deal with, as that's a consistent thing to think about, which can distract you from animatronics, which need your attention, like Funtime Freddy, Pop Goes, Withered Freddy, and could get you killed by Funtime Foxy if you lose track of time. So for this very inconvenient mechanic, D tier. Once a night, Ballora will make you find 4 mini arenas within a time limit, indicated by her music box, Crumpling Dreams. Now, despite being severely easier than Baby, I feel like Ballora's slightly more difficult due to the smaller time limit given in exchange for less things to find, which in my opinion leads Ballora being B tier as she's slightly harder than Baby. Helpy sends a pop-up every now and again. All you have to do is close the pop-up, otherwise Helpy will make more. Yeah, that's it. This is such an easy mechanic to deal with, so S tier. Music command, music command, music command. Where do I begin? Oh yeah! He makes fake audio cues, which, of course, depending on the sound, it's either fine or a problem, since it can make you lose where Freddy could be, and it can make you think Foxy's running towards you. So due to this evil mechanic, this article's getting a very low C tier. Mr. Hippo will start in the vents, and when he gets to your office, he won't make any audio cues, so you have to check the vents. If he's at either one of them, you put on your mask, and he'll leave a muffled vent sound. Else, he will enter the office and give you a very long story, which can lead to you missing an audio cue or two. Now the thing is, I like listening to Mr. Hippo's stories, and he isn't much of a problem if you keep your ears peeled for audio cues. So I will put Mr. Hippo in B tier. Lefty starts in the vents. You must use the audio lures or the heating system to keep her away. If she gets to your office, there's nothing you can do, since the mask doesn't work on her. Now, this is a pretty annoying mechanic to deal with, as you have to use your vents much more in order to make sure she does not get in your office. However, there's one thing that can work. You can actually cheese Lefty. If she's in either one of these 4 spaces, using an audio lure to the entrance closest to Lefty will force her to be unable to further progress to your office. So because of this, Lefty would go into the bottom of C tier if not being cheesed, and S tier if being cheesed. Molten Freddy will run to a random door depending on where his very loud audio cue comes from, either the left or the right door. You must shut that respective door. Now this isn't too bad on its own, however, Molten Freddy is really aggressive. I mean, seriously, in this footage, he attacked 5 times out of the total 8 times I had to do something to get a token from an animatronic, with the exception of the puppets, to get no tokens when dealing with her. And that alone was around 3 minutes. So our spaghetti lad gets C tier for being manageable, just pretty aggressive. Scrap Baby will appear on the backstage camera, known by a loud shattering sound and a warning sign by your power. If this happens, go to the backstage camera and shock her. Otherwise, she will cut your power and jump scare you. Along with this, if you ever get a power outage while Scrap Baby is active, she will go to your office and jump scare you. Now, this isn't too bad depending on who you have to deal with. If you have characters like Withered Freddy, Pop Ghost, Sparky, then she can be a problem if you use the cams for long enough. But aside from that, she's a pretty easy $15, so I feel like A tier is appropriate for her. But hey, it's that one dude from the only FNAF book I've ever read, despite having 6 FNAF books. Twisted Wolf appears in your office after a camera flip, where you must click the illusion disc, this thing by the way, on his sprite. If you don't get stunned by characters like the Phantoms, you should be good so long as your reaction time is quick enough. So B tier. Malhair limits your camera flips, and once they get to 0, you cannot use your monitor. Now, in theory, this is incredibly annoying, but whoever you have is really what makes Malhair a problem. He's manageable if you have few animatronics that need cameras, such as the Phantoms, Mangle, the Vent animatronics, and Lefty if you cheese her. Basically, the only animatronics that would cause a problem here are the Puppet, Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, Scrap Baby, Toy Freddy, Chipper, Sparky, technically Foxy, and Pop Ghost. So due to this and getting 23 bucks from Malhair, I'd put him in A tier. The only reason he isn't getting S is due to the small group of characters that actually need cameras. So Malhair gets A tier. Also, can we talk about how much better of a name Malhair is for Glitch Shop? I mean, he isn't even a glitch. He literally only has a name because that's his damn file name. Dreadbear will show up at the window asking for candy. Depending on the color candy and the side the text bubble is on, you must go to that side of the office and either get a blue candy from a blue candy bowl on the left, or a pink candy from a pink candy bowl on the right, and feed Dreadbear the candy he wants. If you're taking too long, or give him the wrong kind of candy, he will jump scare you. Now, Dreadbear isn't too bad to deal with since the candy he wants will be visible no matter what. If you're on the mask, if you're on the cameras, it will be visible, and this candy is usually pretty easy to get if you have enough time down to do so. So I'd say our undead dirt-eating buddy gets to be the top of B tier. Lolsax will summon one random animatronic at the start of the night, 2 options being your choice, and a third option being completely random. Else, Lolsax will add 2 animatronics if you do not choose. Now, Lolsax can be really good or really bad, since you can get somebody amazing like Lolbit or Helpy from Lolsax, or somebody awful like Withered, Freddy, or Funtime Foxy. However, if every animatronic is active, Lolsax will not do anything at all. So due to the randomness of Lolsax, I feel like he goes into a B tier, around the middle of the tier list, since he can pretty much get everybody, and really isn't much of an animatronic by himself. Once a night, Coffee will start a game of Pong with you, and if you lose the game, you get a power outage. Now, if you're good at Pong, this isn't too bad since it only goes on for a little while. So I think the bottom of B tier fits for our favorite coffee machine. Atom Dude will once a night put you in a platforming minigame with a few levels and 10 lives. If you lose all your lives in the level, Atom Dude kills you for having a skill issue. Now, this is much easier than Coffee's minigame, since you have much more than one chance to make an error, so Atom Dude will go into a B tier, just a bit above Coffee. You have to buy Chipper's Lumber before the end of the night. Now, if paired with Toy Freddy, that's a wonderful combination, since you can usually get enough tokens to deal with Chipper while beating Toy Freddy's high score. So due to this, our favorite early 2010s beaver is getting A tier. Whenever Sparky barks, you must try and find him on the cams using his barks. If a bark is louder in a certain camera, you shock that camera. Now this on its own is annoying. However, a good trick to use is check each camera's controlled shock button, since it will be able to be pressed if Sparky is on the camera. So thanks to this pretty useful tip, he gets a low C tier since he can still be a problem. Candy the Cat has a timer on the TV screen, which ranges from 1 minute to 20 seconds depending on his AI level. When that timer reaches 0, you better have that mask on or else you'll be jump scared by Candy the Cat. Thankfully, this ticking gets louder when at 10 seconds or less. I'm not joking, all I rate was just F tier. Don't like him, but he gives a good 20 bucks. So anyways, from one fan first icon to another, Popgo starts in the main stage where he'll either go to the backstage, Pirate's Cove, the arcade, or the main room, decided by a thought bubble. And once he gets to one of these cams, you shock him to bring him back to the stage. Otherwise, he prints out the black rabbit and you get jump scared. He's okay since he has an object cube, but he is a wonderful pair with Withered Freddy if you want to suffer. Or just any animatronic that requires your attention outside of cams. And in exchange you get $18. So I'd say this is an alright deal for him. So with that, he's gonna get C tier, since he's like Springtrap but less forgiving and much easier to deal with. And last but certainly least, we have for those who skipped to the conclusion, S tier has Toy Freddy, Lolbit, Helpy, and Rodney. A tier has Withered Foxy, Golden Freddy, Scrap Baby, Malhair, Chipper. B tier has Dreadbear, Circus Baby, Bonnie, Chica, Twisted Wolf, Freddy Frickbear, Mangle, Toy Chica, Foxy, Toy Bonnie, Withered Chica, BB, Shadow Freddy, JJ, Plush Trap, Nightmare Yon, Ballora, Mr. Hippo, Atom Dude, Lolsax, and Coffee. C tier has Molten Freddy, The Phantoms, Funtime Freddy, Endo02, The Puppet, Withered Bonnie, RWQ FSAFXC, Nightmare Fredbear, Springtrap, Pop Goes, Nightmare BB, Sparky, Music Man, and Lefty. D tier has Withered Freddy and Funtime Foxy, and of course, F tier for Candy the Cat. So well folks, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more of me, then suggest ringing that bell and joining my Discord, where you can be paying for polls, behind the scenes stuff, videos, and interact with a wonderful community, along with being able to join a Minecraft server, where all you'll need to do is @ me for the server to be online. The link is in the description of the video, along with the music used in this video, and the link to my wonderful editor Explodey's channel. So with that, sayonara suckers.